So, good morning. This morning I wanted to talk about veteran suicide because of the time with the holidays, and there is no data that says suicides go up during the holidays, but there is almost a feeling that that is how it is, because the sadness that veterans feel around the holidays, either with loss of family, loss of friends, the loneliness they feel, or whatever, And so it is difficult to, talk about suicide, but it's something that I know needs to be done. That's why I'm doing it, because suicide prevention is the key to ending veteran suicide. Suicide awareness is good, but suicide prevention is the key. I feel like that suicide awareness is intent. In other words, they intend to end veteran suicide with awareness, but suicide prevention is the action that we need. I'm not even going to get into the numbers, but every 80 minutes a veteran commits suicide. So what I want to talk to you about today is some of the myths that are out there and some of the ways we can combat these myths. Talking or asking about suicide will put the ideation in someone's head, and that's of course not true, because they already have thought about that suicide ideation many times, and by you talking to them about it is not going to cause that thought to jump in somebody's head. People are contemplating suicide long before you get to that point. Someone who survives a suicide attempt is obviously not serious about it, and of course this is not true because of the fact that people either got scared at the last moment. It's like a attempted suicide with a weapon. At the last moment they pull that weapon away, and maybe they hurt themselves, maybe they don't, but they scared the shit out of themselves and they realized they didn't want to die. There are a lot of people who were probably in that last second and wasn't able to pull away in time, and they did kill themselves. More than 70% of people who died by suicide have previously threatened or have attempted to do so. When someone says they feel this way, take it seriously. So, just because that person has attempted suicide before, take it, don't shrug it off thinking they won't do it again. They will. You cannot prevent suicide. People who are suicidal or intent on dying and feel there is no turning back. That's a false thing. Up until that moment that person kills themselves, you can prevent suicide. It may be something you can say at the last moment or whatever. Just keep working and don't give up, because suicide is the most preventable kind of death. Almost any positive action may save a life. Most people who are suicidal are undecided about it. Parts of them want to die, parts of them don't want to die. The main thing is they want to stop their pain, and that's what it is. So maybe something that you say at the last moment changes that person's outlook and realizes that there's hope for them. That is all you have to do. You don't have to solve any problems. You don't have to cure cancer or whatever. All you have to do is just give that person the hope that there is something out there to live for, and they will pull back, and then y'all can talk about it from there, get them help and everything. Only experts can prevent suicide. Suicide prevention is everybody's business. Anyone can prevent the tragedy of a suicide, and that's true, because it's not the expert who are sitting with the people every day who are thinking about committing suicide and thinking about killing themselves It is the persons around them, like you and me, because we are there every day. We know this person, we see this person every day, we know what's going on in their life. It's those type of relationships that are key to preventing suicide, because we see the changes before anybody else will. And we are in that position to ask that question. And I want to clarify this, okay, because this is important. Are you going to kill yourself? Okay, you need to ask that question in those words. Are you going to hurt yourself? That's not, okay, because that is interpretation, okay? You need to be straightforward. Are you going to kill yourself? And they go, oh, no, man, no, I was, most of the time that jars that reality check. But if it doesn't, then you start going down what we're going to go into in a minute. Confronting a person about suicide will only make them angry and increase the risk of suicide. Look, I don't care if you piss a guy off the rest of your life and he walks away, he or she never talks to you again, as long as you live. As long as you ask that question and that person, and that prevented that person from killing themselves, then so be it. If I had to lose every friend in the world to that, then I would, just to keep them alive. Suicide people keep their plans to themselves. Most suicide people will talk about it all day, every day. Because of the fact that the week leading up to it, the fact is they're talking because they want people to listen. They want somebody to care, but they're not sure why they're talking about it. Suicides usually happen without no warning. This, again, is false, because they're going to be talking about it. Their behaviors change. Their lifestyles change. Giving away possessions change. What they're talking about changes, Alright, so now that we've gone through that, now let's go through the warning signs. Warning, what you hear, verbal clues, verbal clues, people talking about different things, behavior clues, their behaviors change. Situational clues, they lost their job, lost their family, lost their daughter, son, close friend, whatever. More clues observed, the greater risk. Take all signs seriously, so don't blow anything off. Verbal clues are, I decided to kill myself. I wish I was dead. If X, Y, and Z doesn't happen, I'm going to kill myself. My family is better off. Indirect verbal clues. My family is better off without me. I won't be around much longer. Behavior clues. Isolation. Self-medication. Reckless behavior. Drastic behaviors and changes in personality. Loss of interest in personal appearance. In other words, quit taking a shower, quit combing their hair, quit putting makeup, quit putting deodorant on. Unexpected preparations for death. They started saying, hey, I like to be buried at so-and-so cemetery. I'd like for the preacher at that church to do it. Preoccupation with death or dying. They talk about death and dying all the time. Feeling hopefulness about the future. In other words, they have no hope. Situational clues. Being expelled from a job, from a school, from a job. Family relationships. Death of a friend or family member. Diagnosed with illnesses. If you got all of a sudden diagnosed with stage 4 cancer and you didn't want to go through the chemo, that's part of the situation. That's part of what we do, in humans, because we don't want to deal with the pain. So you look for a better way. You're going to die. You might as well go ahead and kill yourself, is what you're thinking. Situational clues, financial problems, sudden loss or fear of punishment. Maybe you did something bad and you're going to go to jail. Victim of assault or bullying. Remember, ask yourself, am I hearing, seeing, or knowing anything of this person that could possibly cause me to be concerned about his or her safety? If the answer is yes, then proceed with the steps, okay? So, this is where you ask the questions. You're going to feel nervous about asking a question because you're going to be asking somebody if you are wanting to kill yourself. That is the life question that you have to ask. The act of simply asking questions is what is important. So it doesn't really matter how you do it as long as you ask that question. And I see a lot of my viewers are responding that they've been there, and I want you to know that you are never alone, and that if you've been there and you ever get to that situation again and you need to talk, then you can reach out to me and I will be there for you. That's what I do in my peer support stuff, and being there for veterans and being there for veteran family members and stuff like that. Okay, tips in asking the question. If in doubt, don't wait, ask. In other words, don't wait. It may be too late. You walk away 5 minutes and they kill themselves in that 5 minutes. If the person is reluctant, be persistent. If they don't seem to come up with an answer, keep going at them. Allow that person to talk freely. Don't try to guide the conversation. Don't try to say something that you think you need to say. Just listen. Talk to the person alone in a private setting. Do not do this in public, okay, people? You don't want to embarrass somebody because, they may not have been thinking about it, but then you embarrass them and that pushes them over the edge. Give yourself plenty of time and then have resources handy. If you need to call 911, if you need to, do whatever, you need to do that. Direct approach. When people are upset, as you seem to be, they sometimes think about suicide. I was wondering if you're feeling that way. I was wondering if you're thinking about suicide. Are you thinking about killing yourself? And like I said, you need to put it in that form. Are you thinking about killing yourself? Indirect approach. Have you been happy lately? Do you wish you could ever go to sleep or never wake up? And this is simply to get you into that moment where you can ask that question. How not to ask the question. You're not suicidal, are you? Don't try to do any. Don't avoid questions where any of the answer is no. Where the suggested answer is no. Like I said, it's still the whole point of, are you thinking about killing yourself? Some additional tips for you when you're thinking about asking the question is take a calming breath. Mindfulness. Summarize what the person has said to you or that makes you worry about thinking about suicide. This is reflective listening, where you're repeating back to them what you think that you heard so you can clarify. Persuade someone who is suicidal to get help. Remember, suicide is not the problem. It is only perceived solution to a perceived unsolvable problem. If given a chance to talk, most people with thoughts of suicide will talk themselves out of performing any suicidal behavior. Most suicidal episodes last less than 10 minutes. That is because they will talk themselves out of it, or they will have somebody that will help them talk themselves out of it. 10 minutes, that's all we're talking about. Persuading a suicidal individual, don't be judgmental. Like I said, listen. Don't try to interject, oh, I was feeling this way, or oh man, you don't need to feel that way. You're okay. Don't try to do that. Express your concern for the person. I want you to live, okay? Put I want you to live. That way that person hears that. That's one person that wants them to live. That may be all it takes. This is serious. I'm worried about you. That I'm on your side. We will get through this together. And once again, I want to go back to that. We will get through this together. Do not walk off the moment you say that and never check on your friend again. Because that is why people will go back to that thing. They realize people say that, but they never follow through. You need to follow through. And then refer, call the suicide prevention hotline, get somebody on the phone that is trained in suicide prevention, stay with the person or take them wherever they need to help. Make sure the person in crisis is sober, safe, and there's no method. Gun locks, the VA has gun locks that you can go get. You can get gun locks because there's a commercial that's been out for a while, and it shows a guy driving out to a field somewhere, and he takes the key out, and it's his key to his gun lock for his pistol. And in that 30 seconds of fumbling with that key, he makes a decision not to kill himself. Like I said, we got to put barriers in there that people will have to think about doing physically, and if they can just get that off their mind for a few minutes or a few seconds, then maybe that will change them wanting to kill themselves. Like I said, this is an important topic for me this time of year, especially this time of year is an important topic for me year round. If any of y'all who are wondering about suicide, maybe you have a friend who you're worried about, whatever, get them help. I am here to talk to you. I have been through all kind of suicide prevention training in making myself a better person to help my friends who get in that situation. It is one of those things that is very difficult to do sometimes. But if you ever get to that point and you have to ask that question, then I hope that you can follow through, because it's one of those things that you won't know that you can do until you do it. It's just like in combat. You won't know if you can pull that trigger and shoot another human being who's trying to kill you until you got to pull that trigger. There are a few things in life that will ever come up to that standard, and that's one of them. Asking somebody if they're thinking about killing themselves with suicide. Suicide prevention is the key. Legislation, talk, all these podcasts I see, and all these, web pages and Facebook pages I see. I counted over 100 pages, Facebook pages that talked about suicide awareness. 100 on Facebook. Can you imagine the amount of time in those groups when they could be doing something besides suicide awareness? Like I said, it's intent versus action. You need to be in the game. You need to get, as Samuel L. Jackson says in the last full measure of the devotion, you got to get skin in the game. If you don't have skin in the game, then you're not going to be doing your brothers and sister veterans any good. You need to be in that game, and you need to know what's going on around you, especially at holidays. So, difficult subject, but I will talk about it as long as I need to talk about it until there is zero, and will that ever happen? I don't know. But I know that I'm going to keep doing this. So y'all have a good day. And like I said, just pay attention to your buddies and your brothers and sisters around you, and see what's going on, and watch for those changes, and watch for those conversations, and have those conversations with each other. Okay, those are important conversations. So y'all take care, and God bless.